Can we give an incredibly warm Idaho welcome to Steve Young?
Okay. I have a lot to say. I think, hold on, there we go. Not that I couldn't throw to any one of you easily with the perfect spiral. We've got 3 on each side that have already been picked out for safety reasons, because I've broken chandeliers in the past. And so we just want to toss them to you. And, oh, beautiful. Who else? Is there others? Yeah, come closer. I don't want to kill anybody. Are you next? Oh, that's a bad throw. Good catch. Who else? There you go. Can you catch that? Yeah. Jay, this is Jay's idea. I don't have. You can tell this is one more. Where's the other person? Okay, there you go. Great. Here. Okay. Was there one more? Who else is the last person? Is that you back there? Seriously? Oh, it's this way. Here. You? All right. Great. I would have thrown it to you, but you didn't win. All right. Thank you, guys. It's so great. Mark Andreessen, who's a Silicon Valley pioneer and one of the big and best investors in Silicon Valley today, who spoke recently and said, I'm really bummed out. He's 58 years old, I want to say. He's 58 years old, and he said, I'm really bummed out because of all the cool things that I've seen in technology over my lifetime. I'm going to miss all the cool stuff. And I think that's very interesting, because if you think about all the cool stuff that's still coming, you saw some of it tonight, you're going to kiss the feet of the Idaho Technology Council in 30 years, because it is changing every business so dramatically you can't imagine. Bob Miller never believed that he was going to be a technologist when he was a grocer all those years. And now his expertise has to be technology. It's the differentiating factor in the business. And that goes for Albertsons, it goes for businesses all over the world. And so the idea that you're being supported and pushed and awarded is going to make a difference for the state of Idaho. In fact, I don't know if there's any better group that's doing more for the future of Idaho than what the ITC is doing. So it's my pleasure to be a part of it, because I'm recognizing it as I see out in the world. When I was growing up, my hero was Roger Staubach, as Andy, and I appreciate, Andy, you coming and inviting me to be here and our long friendship. And I couldn't be more grateful for the dean of the law school to put Andy in charge of me. I did need support. I went to 3 Super Bowls while I went to law school, those 6 semesters. And the semester started in January, right after the new year, and the Super Bowl's over in early February. So not only was it, I missed the first semester, I missed the first month of the second semester, and I'd be like, Andy, help! And he did it. We did it. I graduated, and so I'll get to that. But I grew up with Roger Staubach as my hero, and there was a poster on my wall in my bedroom. And I looked at that poster and stared at it. How did Roger hold the ball? And I wanted to hold the football just like Roger did. I put my fingers just like he did, and it showed on the poster. And I watched him on TV. I wanted to talk like him. When I saw him play, I wanted to play like him. And that was my dream. And my dad, I'd always tell him, Dad, my dream is to be in the NFL and be Roger Staubach. He goes, that's a great dream. What's the plan? And I go, what do you mean? What are you talking about? Well, a dream is something that you should have, and it's very hard to achieve, but something to have in your mind, and a great dream. But you have to have a plan that you can, 80% certainty that you can achieve. So you can have a dream and a plan. And at a very young age, he was always talking about a dream and a plan. And so I knew my dream was to be in the NFL, and my plan always was to go to school. I talked to him about going to law school because he was a lawyer and kind of in his footsteps, and that was my dream and plan. He goes, "That's great, dream and a plan." And then I went pro, and I called him. Dad, the dream and the plan came together. I don't have to worry about the plan anymore because now the dreams come true, and I have a plan because I'm going to make money playing for professional football. He said, "Steve, come on. There's only the average career in the NFL is 3 years. You're going to be 25 years old, out of a job, and then what are you going to do?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll keep the plan going." So I had the plan in my mind, and that's why I ended up going to law school in 1987 in the middle of my football career, basically to fulfill my father telling me that you better have a dream and a plan. And after I played 15 years and retired, actually 17 professional seasons, I retired, and thankfully, I had received this higher degree that allowed me to run from football and start a new career. And so now 18 years of professional football and 18 years of private equity, I now have essentially 2 careers thanks to my dad telling me that you better have a dream and a plan. And the plan was always something that you could achieve. And so having 2 distinctly different kind of careers, things that I learned in football. Football is where the truth is because you have lines, it's very defined boundaries, it's got a clock, it's got a score, and there's no lying. The truth is on the field. You have 80,000 witnesses, and what happens there, no one can say after the game. So many times I wanted to come after the game and say, "Did you see that? Well, it wasn't what you thought." Well, sorry, we watched it, so nice try. And so there was very little ability to not be able to deal with the truth. And so if you have that kind of atmosphere, what happens is that you learn a lot about human behavior. You watch 50 guys out, and that's, with 80,000 witnesses and a clock and a score and a boundary, you're going to find out a lot about human behavior. And so the things that I learned in football, the truths in football, if you will, and then what did I learn over in this other career, and where do they mix and match? People always say, what did you take from your first career that came into your second career, and what worked? And there's a couple of things that are really vital in my mind, because if something's true on the football field and it's true in business, then by definition, it's true, right? Because they're just true principles. And the first one I want to describe to you, and there's 2 that I want to share with you today that are kind of foundational for me. The first one is my original coach when I went to the San Francisco 49ers in 1987 was Bill Walsh. And Bill was an innovator. I mean, if there was an award if he was here tonight, he'd win the award. He was ahead of the game. Archaically taught and coached for many years, football was thought to be, for example, let's have players get in shape. Let's put them in the desert and let's keep water from them, and they'll be stronger and better. They'll be in better shape. That was actually believed. That's what they used to do. I mean, how do we treat them more like the relationship between coach and player was really I would call it a zero-sum game. I mean, the coach had a big stick, and he just beat the players, and they behaved, and they did what he said, and that's the essence of how football was taught and coached. And until Bill Walsh came along and recognized that there was a better way to do it. You know what? We'll give them water. We don't have to be in the desert. In fact, we're going to focus on the intricacies of the sport. We're going to think about the timing. Football is an incredible choreography, or essentially a glorified dance step. Let's work on that, the nuances of the game. I believe you can go hit somebody. I believe you can go tackle. Let's beat people on the timing. And he's like, how else can we do it? Let's talk about how we eat. Let's talk about how we rest. Let's talk about how we can help you at home, in your marriage. Let's figure out how we can make you better football players by making sure that the rest of your life is in order. These are revolutionary ideas. Revolutionary in football, probably revolutionary in a lot of businesses at the time. And so I joined him in 1987, and he'd already won 2 Super Bowls with the names of Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and Ronnie Lott and Tom Rathman and Roger Craig and just all the names. If you remember back in those days, it was an incredible team that had already, in just 5 or 6 short years of Bill Walsh being the coach, had won 2 Super Bowls and been to 3 or 4 championship games, win the playoffs every year. And so I joined this team, and the first day we get there, Bill Walsh is up in front of the team. And I'm in awe, and I can't believe that I'm here. I'm a part of this wonderful team. Can't wait to learn. And as he's speaking, I see over on the side Someone with the old, back in 1987, it was like on the shoulder, it was a big video camera with a cord and someone holding the recorder, and the guy was filming Bill, everything he said. And as he talked, I thought, that's interesting. Why would you film him? And then when Bill left and he walked down the hall, they followed him. And then he went out on the field, and then he went back inside, and then he went to the locker room. They just filmed everything he did. And I remember when they were doing that, I said to myself and chuckled, what does he think? I know he's famous, and I know he's a great innovator. I know he's, amazing in what he's doing, but really? I mean, do you have to film yourself? And I remember kind of making fun of him. What do you think, you're that famous? What are you, like Abe Lincoln? And you already want to build your museum, and you want to make sure that everybody knows? And that's what I thought. Little did I know that what he was doing, what he was building, a video history, as well as an audio history and a paper-based history of everything that he knew. Every innovative thought that ever came through him, both from offensive philosophy to play calling to speeches that he made to the team to how you treat players, how you develop young talent, how you encourage coaches to take head coaching jobs, all the things that he was thinking about, he wanted kind of in one place, a repository of all the things that I had. He knew that what he was doing was innovative. He knew that he was 2 generations ahead of everybody in football. And why did the San Francisco 49ers so good for so long? Because Bill was ahead of the game. And in the middle of that success, of all of that, what do people usually do with proprietary information that they know is a game changer, that they can win for years with it? Well, they hold it close, right? It's mine. And the world is a zero-sum game, and I'm going to win, and you lose, right? That's how we look at today's political environment. I'm going to either win or you're going to lose, and that's all we're going to do. And that's what we're just going to beat each other up. And when I win, I'm going to tell you that you're a loser, and when you win, then I'm going to come back and get you. Nobody's ever satisfied. Nobody's ever collaborative. Nobody ever senses that it's a win-win situation. It's a zero-sum game. But Bill thought of it completely different. And so at the height of his knowledge and expertise and innovation, he collected it all, put it in one place, and then miraculously, not miraculously, but incredibly, at the time, if you know the NFL, there's a Rooney Rule now where new owners have to, when they change coaches, you have to interview at least 3 minority candidates for that job to help encourage minority hiring. Well, Bill was ahead of the Rooney Rule, well before it. And he wanted his assistant coaches to get head coaching jobs. And so what he was doing was building a repository to hand to the assistant coaches when they got head coaching jobs. And he would. Here's a big, huge toolkit. Here it is. Everything that I know. And then incredibly said at the end, I'll see you in the championship game. Knowing that with this toolkit, they were going to come back and compete against him, and they'll see him in the championship game. And we did. The first guy he handed it to was Mike Holmgren. Mike Holmgren went to the Green Bay Packers, came back, and beat us in the championship game. And Brett Favre was his quarterback, and after the game, I'm seeing Brett, and I go, Brett, by the way, what was the big game speech that Mike Holmgren gave you last night? He told me the speech. It was Bill's big game speech. I was like, Bill, what are you doing? I mean, they're coming back and beating us. But if you think about abundance, if you think about a spirit of all the things that you think, 1 + 1 = 3, or collaboration, or a sense of additive experience, you want something to be more. What you do is, and I see this all the time, is a sense of what will get us both to agree. How can we collaborate? How can we find common ground? And in common ground, can we make a deal? Can we figure this out? Or does it have to be a zero-sum game? And so Bill was the first one to teach me that fundamentally you can look at all relationships in your life, every one of them, whether they're intimate at home with your wife and kids, or whether it's broadly out in the street, or somebody that literally cuts you off on the highway. Every relationship can be thought of as in a spirit of abundance or a zero-sum game. And if you think about it in a spirit of abundance, you can now be somebody that can engage in that relationship to build goodness. It can build healing. It can build success. It can build long-lasting relationship. Because zero-sum game on the other side will not build long-lasting relationship, because you beat somebody with a big stick. What are they going to do? They're coming back to get you. You might win for a little while, but I'm going to remember because the way that you did it and the spirit of how you did it defined how I felt about it, and I remember that. And so really, I think about what did I learn in the football realm? I learned from Bill Walsh at the height of his career, handing off his most valuable secrets to the people around him to go be successful. Los Angeles Chargers, Los Angeles Rams, Seattle Seahawks, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, Green Bay Packers, Minnesota Vikings. I'm just moving west to east. San Francisco 49ers, Phoenix Cardinals, every team that I just mentioned, and that's just starting, I could keep going. Baltimore Ravens, Miami, it just goes on and on, are the teams that are led by head coaches who have the toolkit. It's been handed down for generations, passed on by those original people, and now it's everywhere. The NFL is, in many ways, the memorial for Bill Walsh and what he's accomplished and what he's done single-handedly in the spirit of abundance. What is somebody's legacy who thinks about the world in a zero-sum game? There is no legacy by nature. What's the legacy of somebody who sees it as a collaboration, a relationship to actually gain something from? What do you have? What do we have? What can we figure out together? And those handshakes mean something. They're not handshakes that you go home and revenge and those kind of emotions. It's like, no, it's a tough negotiation. We saw each other straight up and we shook on it, and now we both feel like we win. And I think that's absolutely a part of how I think about my marriage, how I think about my relationship with my kids. It's fundamental, and it really defines my relationship in business. Because most people think, it's so strange, they think in terms of zero-sum game. It's how they think about doing stuff. I need to win, and I need this, or we won't be successful. The truth is, there's a place in the middle that's a spirit of abundance. So I give that to you. Think about it in your relationships. Maybe you can think about it as a way to approach difficult conversations that you've had with people, difficult relationships that you have in a spirit of abundance. When I played quarterback, I dropped back to pass thousands of times. Every time I have the ball in my hand, I'm looking for the open receiver. Hopefully it's Jerry Rice. But that's the job, right? That's what I'm paid to do. How many times we've been going down the field, we're going to go win the game. There's 80,000 people in the stands that are cheering you on. Everyone's feeling it. The players are excited. Everyone's invested. We've been through a hard-fought game. It's towards the end. There's seconds left. I drop back to pass. I see Jerry Rice. Oh my gosh, he's open, and I throw it. And how many times has not Jerry Rice caught it, but the other team? That's an interception. That is, I cannot describe to you, because you've never experienced 80,000 people suddenly just collapsing. Your teammates feel like you've just stolen from them. And there's a moment in human nature is this way, because remember, the truth is on the football field. There's a moment when the whole team kind of wonders how in the world that you threw it to that guy, because that's super obvious, right? And there's a tinge underneath it that feels a little bit like, did he do that on purpose? Now, as a human being, I've now done that. I remember I threw it. I knew immediately, like, oh, this is going to be trouble. And then it is trouble. And now the boos start down. And my teammates turn to me and they say, why? And underneath it is a little sense of, did you do that on purpose? Okay? Now you're me. What do you do? The first thing I think of is to turn and run, right? Like if I run really fast and get to the car and head out, this will all be over. But that not being an option, what is the next thing you want to do? You want to tell the people, especially the teammates that you fight with or that you are so close to, and that I didn't do it on purpose. Like I'm going to tell you all about the mitigation that's happened. It's not like, of course I didn't do it on purpose. In fact, let me tell you all the truths of how we got here. You turned the wrong way. Right? It's true. I'm not telling him something that didn't happen. He truthfully, you didn't block your guy. He hit me just as I was throwing the ball. And that's, now what am I doing? I'm explaining why it happened. And so these are the truths to me to let you know that I didn't do it on purpose. And then look at the sun. It's right in my eye. And look, you see it's hard. It's and feel the ball. It's wet and muddy, slippery, huh? Try to throw that thing. Is there anything that I just said that wasn't truthful? No, it was all true. And I was telling them, I want them to know I would never do this on purpose. And then we went to the sidelines, and we go, I'd overhear the conversations with the coach or the other players would come out, and they said, what happened out there? And inevitably, what they would say, and it was amazing because early in my career, I thought, this is crazy that I'm telling them why it happened, and this is their response to the coach is, well, he's not Joe Montana. And that's the biggest problem we have right now. And so I realized very quickly that I'm supposed to be the leader. I'm supposed to be inspiring. I'm supposed to be somebody that can get it done. And what I'm doing here in this moment is not working. And so I decided to do something completely different. And it's really a testimony to human behavior, because the next time that I threw an interception, it happened every time. Didn't matter the circumstances. It's always a huge disappointment. It's always tinged with a sense that, oh my gosh, did you really throw it to him? I mean, that was so obvious. And the next time it happened, they turned to me, why? And what did I say? I took this unique opportunity to basically say, fundamentally, the ball was in my hands, and now it's in their hands. And who's responsible for that? Fundamentally, I am. The truth of it was that I'm responsible fundamentally. The ball was in my hands, and I threw it, and someone else caught it that wasn't supposed to. So I'm responsible. But that's not the end of that story. I'm going to go fix it. Let's go to the sidelines, get a drink of water, come back on the field, let's go down and win the game. Those same guys would go to the sidelines, coach would say, what happened out there? And I'm telling you, it's crazy enough that they would say, well, I turned the wrong way. My guy hit Steve just as he was throwing the ball. What happened? What in the world just happened that is true, and it's true everywhere, is that at the moment, the key moment, when the lights were on, not tomorrow, not later, not when it's, more relaxed, it's at the moment of truth when everybody's wondering what happened, the leader turns to everybody and says, I'm responsible. I did it. And in that truth is a higher truth than the other truths that I talked about as being he turned the wrong way. And all the mitigation. There's mitigation in every experience. There's 1,000 things that can go wrong on the football field. And if you list them, feel free. They're probably all true. But are they higher truth? No, the higher truth is a sense of accountability for all the mistakes, that who is in charge? And by taking that responsibility, what I did was I infused into the system all of this accountability that allowed my fellow human beings who react just the same to say to themselves, oh my gosh, you're responsible. The truth is, I'm responsible too. All of a sudden, accountability spreads. And pretty soon you got 50 guys that feel a sense of accountability, a sense of ownership in what happens. Why are the 49ers always good? For 19 years, we're in the playoffs every year. 5 Super Bowls and 10 championship games. I mean, why are those things? You think it's because the play we run or the defense that was called? Or no, it was fundamentally that we had people that had a sense of abundance, a sense of integration, a sense of love for each other. Bill Walsh was the one that thought it. He would tell at the beginning of the year, he'd say, look, I'm going to integrate this team. What do you mean integration? You mean black and white, like racially? Because that's what everybody thinks about first. Like, no, way beyond that. I want all the things that separate you as human beings, all the things that keep you apart. When you go sit down in a group, a varied group of people, you're going to sit with the people you know. You don't mean anything against the people you don't know. It's just uncomfortable with you. All the quarterbacks sit together, all the receivers sit together, all the people who have this, all the things that separate us. What's language, socioeconomic background, geography, religion, where we went to school, all the things, and so there's groups that we feel comfortable with and things that I just don't know. And he says, I'm going to integrate you guys on the bus, on the planes, in the locker room, in the training room cafeteria. How many times are all the quarterbacks sitting together? Of course we're sitting together. We're the smartest. Why would we not be there, right? We're taking our lunch, and all of a sudden Bill would come in and go, up you go. So we'd have to stand up, and I'm tired. I don't want to take my tray over here. I had to sit down and say hello to somebody new. How are you doing? What's your name? Well, I knew their name because it was on the back of their jersey. But you can play for somebody for 10 years. You can be with a company for 10 years and do the same thing over time. You don't really know them. And Bill's idea was if we're integrated, we know each other, that when you're in Lambeau Field in Green Bay and it's 32 degrees and sleeting rain, why isn't it snowing? Because if it was snowing, it wouldn't be so cold because it wouldn't be soaking wet. And then you're windy and it's cold and your hands are numb and your feet, you can't feel them. And then you get in the huddle because it's 3rd and 10 and you're down by 4 with a minute left. In that huddle, at that moment, when you're in the huddle and you're looking at 10 other guys in the eye, his belief was if we are integrated, if we have a spirit of abundance about how we're looking at this world, that I care about you, that it matters to me how you're doing, that at that moment, 11 people together cannot be stopped. And it's fundamentally true. And then if you can, and if accountability is infused into the systems where everyone feels a sense of ownership, I'm responsible. The 49ers for years were great because the equipment man who was in charge of the jerseys felt like if my jerseys aren't right and everything's not set up perfectly for the pregame and in the locker room, we won't win. Like literally felt like if I don't do my job well, we will lose. You cannot be beat if everybody feels that sense of ownership. Again, it doesn't matter what play you call. I go to Monday nights in the fall, I go to the Monday Night Football. Last week I was in Green Bay, 49ers in Green Bay, and I just love watching people warm up, watching the team and the spirit of the team. I can watch a team warm up, and on these basic fundamental principles of accountability and what we'll call spirit of abundance or integration, I just watch for it, just interactions. I see it in a second. I'm like, that's a team that's going to win. Do you ask me, well, what about the receiver? He's hurt. What about this guy? I don't care. They might lose today, but they're going to win in the long run. In fact, do me a favor. If you hate football, it doesn't matter. At the end of the game, especially in the NFL, the losing team, there's always a media that talks to the coach and the quarterback post-game, and they ask them questions. Questions just like my linemen used to ask me when I threw interceptions. They want to know what happened. Do me a favor and watch it. Take a piece of paper, put a line down the middle. On one side, put mitigation. On the other side, put accountability. And just put your ear to the conversation. And just make little marks as you listen. You'll know it in a second. The guys that are talking about the mitigation that they're involved with and what happened, they lost tonight and they're probably going to lose next week. And the guys that are the masters of accountability, the masters of understanding what we're trying to accomplish here, the human behavior, go ahead, listen to Tom Brady. Listen to Drew Brees. Listen to Aaron Rodgers. It's incredible how these guys are so successful, but why? When they lose a football game and they go in post-game and they talk to the media, who are they talking to? Are they talking to the media? I mean, who are they speaking to? Speaking to their teammates. Because I lost this week, if I'm going to win next week, Tom Brady's married to Giselle. He makes $40 million a year. Everyone else on the team is wondering what the heck's going on. And I now, Tom Brady, need to collect my other teammates when it's very, it's not equal. How do I get you to come fight with me? Because when it matters, I infuse it. Well, listen to him when he talks. Everything he says is essentially shepherding, kind of bringing people back together. Like, I'm accountable, and we're going to work, and we're going to do well together, and I'm responsible, and this is how we're going to do it, and I need to get better. And all he's doing is collecting his teammates at the end of the game through the media. It's a master stroke. And the guys that are great players all do this. Check it out. You witness it yourself. And until you learn it, you can't lead. If you're a man of mitigation or a woman of mitigation, you will run into the ground sooner or later. If you're a man or woman of a zero-sum game with a big stick and I'm going to win, you might win for a while, but you will not have a legacy. You will not have a spirit of abundance. You will not have a spirit of collected common good and will, and common will, and goodwill. And it really goes to how we think about our marriage. I mean, honestly, how many times have I come home? Just the other night, my wife says, go down and get X. And then, by the way, get, A, B, and C. So I go down there and I come back with A, B, C, think I got it figured out, and I forgot the original thing she said. It's happened 100 times. And so how I've stayed married is because I did not tell her how it went wrong. And all the things that happened, and well, you didn't. That's how you were yelling at me. I was leaving, and I thought I heard something around the corner, and then I got in the car, and then there's like syrup on the seat, and I forgot what I was like. These are all true things. These are all truths, but they're lower truths. The higher truth is at that moment, honey, I screwed it up, and I'm gonna go fix it. And I go running out the door to go fix it, and I've done it 100 times. And I'm still married because if you don't, if your mitigation kills relationships, if you want to stay married, you've got to have a sense of accountability. If I could teach my kids anything in this world, the ability to say, I messed it up, and I'm going to go fix it. That self-awareness is the vital piece of the puzzle to success. And so you ask me, what are the things that worked in football and work in private equity or in business? The same things that work in my marriage, the same things that work in the street, the same thing that happens every relationship we have. It's fundamental to how you kind of integrate your own life. And so football taught me some great things. The final thing I'll share with you is that football also has what we'll call the Everest of our life. I mean, I don't climb mountains, and if I did, I guess I'd want to climb Everest because that's the highest mountain and it has a lot of meaning. Good dream. I will never climb Everest because I don't want to die. In fact, I'm done doing anything of high risk. I have young kids and I want to live to 110. And so I didn't do a lot of great things when I was 20 to 40 in living to 110, so now I got to make up for it. And I'm not going to do anything stupid, I promise you. Or try not to at all. I'm trying to live for as long as I possibly can. But Everest in life, when people climb Everest, what do? No matter how, the air issue, the weather issue, you got to get up and back. It's very dangerous. But they always carry something that they do not need to get to the top. Two things that they bring that are not useful to actually getting there, but are super useful at the moment they are at the top. And what are those two? One is a steel pole with a flag on it, right? And the second thing, anybody? That's a camera. I'm going to be at the top of the world. We're taking a picture, right? Because I want a record. I want to know that, I want everyone to know that I was there. And that's part of the dream, and I want you to know that dreams are worth it. And so in many ways, the same thing that happens at Everest when people do that, in football, it's called the Super Bowl. And the Super Bowl is Everest. And the night before my Super Bowl, the PR guy for the 49ers walked in, Rodney Knox, said, Steve, the Disney company wants to sign you for $1,500 that if you win the MVP tomorrow, that you'll say into the camera at the end of the game, you won the Super Bowl MVP, now what are you going to do? And you're going to yell into the camera, I'm going to Disneyland, right? It was part of the club. It's like, this is great. Yeah, great. Let's do it. Signed it. Of course, didn't read it because what lawyer Lee reads a contract? By the way, the two lawyers from Stoll Reeves, that was really funny. No, it's funny. Lawyers, funny. That's funny. Right? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's just super funny just on its own. So the next day, I win the MVP. I go out, and Rodney Knox runs up to me and says, Steve, remember, you signed the thing. You got to yell in the camera. I yell in the camera, I'm going to Disneyland. And then I go off, and we have a great time, and there's a party afterwards. And about 2 a.m., Rodney Knox walks up to me and says, hey, by the way, it's not a metaphor. Like, you're going to Disneyland. I go, I am? I didn't know. He said, yeah, it was in the contract, right? And I said, oh, great. Okay, that's fine. I love Disneyland. I'm a Disney freak. It'll be great. He goes, yeah, but it's tomorrow. I'm like, tomorrow? How's that possible? We're in Miami, got to go back to San Francisco, down to Anaheim. How are we going to do that? Then he looked at his watch. He goes, oh, it's 2 a.m. Sorry, today. Woke up that early that morning, flew to San Francisco parade, and then I went down to Anaheim. That night, I was in front of the castle at Disneyland, and it was huge. We just won the Super Bowl. There's a band. You don't know, Disneyland had a band. They had a band in front. They were playing, big, huge stage, a float, gold and red streamers for the 49ers on the side. Said Steve Young, Super Bowl MVP. And next to me, you know it, Mickey Mouse, right? It was the ultimate. It was my moment of Everest. It was where it all happened. And for 4 minutes, down Main Street, people were yelling, Steve, you're the man, you're the king, you're the greatest, Joe's nothing, you're the greatest guy ever, And for 4 minutes, I kind of lost my mind. I'm yelling back, I am the man! I am I'm greater than Joe. This is the best. I'm the king. This is great. And we all had this moment in the sun. I was like, oh my gosh. And then we get to the end and we turn backstage and everything gets quiet. The band stops playing. There's two boys sitting down on the curb, dressed just alike with the yellow pants and the purple shirt so they don't get lost. And the mom's worried about it. And they're probably 6 and 8 years old. And they don't care about this. And the younger one looks up and sees Mickey Mouse. Sees Mickey Mouse on the stage, on the float. And starts to charge the thing like and mesmerized like Mickey Mouse. His older brother grabs him by the shirt and pulls him back. Says, you can't get near him. The big guy won't let you. I had an out-of-body experience. I yelled at the kid, of all the times in my life that I am not Mickey Mouse's bodyguard, it is right now. I am the man. Read the sign, right? I want you to know that Everests are worth it, that dreams are worth it, that there is 4 minutes where you get to take a picture, and absolutely. But then I had to quickly go back to work because I became the bodyguard. But make sure that when you have a dream, that you also have a plan, or you get stuck. I appreciate the chance to come up and spend a few minutes here in the beautiful city of Boise. Thank you very much. Good job.
Hello. What a tremendous message tonight, Steve. It can transcend through our whole life what we're doing. Truly. You are the king tonight in this room.